A poor and desperate man named Elias possessed a heart far too trusting for the greedy world around him. Driven by hunger on a bitter winter night, he sought help from his cruel older brother, stepping blindly onto a path of dark magic. Would a cursed gift of boundless wealth bring him salvation, or would it ultimately ruin those who sought its power? Follow his incredible journey into the unknown and witness the heavy price of uncontrollable greed. The frosted wind howled through the barren trees, biting bitterly into the thin skin of Elias as he trudged toward his wealthy brother's grand estate. Silas lived in opulent comfort, surrounded by roaring hearths and pantries overflowing with rich foods, caring absolutely nothing for his younger siblings' deep misery. Standing upon the grand stone porch, Elias shivered uncontrollably while softly begging for just a tiny scrap of discarded meat to feed his starving wife. Silas threw open the heavy oak door with a furious scowl. He tossed a massive cured ham out into the snow, shouting at Elias to take the meat and march straight down to the Cavern of the Lost Souls. Elias picked up the frozen food, holding it tightly against his thin coat. Having promised to obey his brother's cruel demand, the desperate man turned away from the village and walked deep into the shadowed woods. Darkness swallowed the narrow forest trail as the heavy snow deepened with every step. A towering cliff face eventually emerged from the swirling white blizzard, revealing the gaping, misty mouth of the dreaded subterranean cavern. An ancient woodcutter sat calmly near the terrifying entrance, methodically chopping frozen logs with a heavy, rusted axe. Pausing his labor, the old man looked up with milky, ancient eyes, warning Elias that the restless spirits within craved earthly food above all worldly riches. He instructed the shivering traveler to offer them the cured ham, but strongly insisted that Elias must only accept the old stone handmill hidden just behind the cavern door. Furthermore, the wise woodcutter carefully taught him the exact magical phrases required to command and halt the mysterious device. Armed with this strange knowledge, Elias thanked the elder and stepped bravely into the eerie, echoing gloom. Shadowy, translucent figures swarmed around him immediately, their greedy hands reaching desperately toward the fragrant scent of the cured meat. Ghostly voices whispered promises of unimaginable wealth, offering towering piles of shining gold and shimmering rubies. Yet Elias stubbornly refused their dazzling treasures. He pointed firmly toward the ordinary, dusty stone handmill, resting quietly behind a rusted iron hinge. Moaning in disappointment, the spirits reluctantly handed over the heavy stone object, snatching the ham from his hands before vanishing back into the deeper, freezing shadows. Elias hurried quickly out of the frightening cave, breathing the crisp winter air and thanking the old man once more before rushing all the way back to his crumbling cottage. His wife sat weeping by a dead, cold hearth, her sunken eyes filled with lingering sorrow and winter despair. Elias placed the heavy stone mill onto their wobbly wooden table with a bright, triumphant smile. He clearly spoke the starting words the woodcutter had taught him, commanding the ancient stone to grind out a magnificent holiday feast. The mill shuddered violently upon the wood before pouring forth roasted meats, fresh, crusty bread, and warm, spiced ale in an endless, steaming river. His wife wept tears of pure joy as they feasted happily together until their empty bellies were finally full. Elias then ordered the mill to stop, uttering the secret counterphrase just in time to prevent a messy overflow. Over the following weeks, the magical stone ground out strong oak timber, fine silken clothes, and enough golden coins to build a truly magnificent mansion. Rumors of this sudden miraculous wealth quickly reached the jealous ears of his older brother. Silas marched furiously into Elias's new, sunlit home, demanding aggressively to know the secret behind such unbelievable fortune. Elias honestly explained the incredible power of the handmill, even demonstrating how it could gracefully produce anything one desired. Pure jealousy consumed Silas entirely, and he begged relentlessly to purchase the miraculous object for himself. The younger brother finally agreed to part with it for a massive sum, knowing he had already secured his beloved family's comfort forever. Silas snatched the heavy mill the very moment the gold was exchanged, rushing back to his own estate without ever pausing to ask how to halt the magic. That very evening, Silas ordered his many servants to rest, while he proudly prepared a grand supper entirely by himself. He placed the ancient mill upon his expansive kitchen counter and boldly commanded it to grind out thick herring broth and hearty barley porridge. The heavy stone wheels spun rapidly, spewing hot, delicious food across the pristine marble floors in a matter of seconds. Broth filled the enormous copper pots to the brim, quickly overflowing onto the stone tiles like a thick, savory river. Silas shouted desperately for the device to cease its churning, but his loud, angry words held no magical power whatsoever. Porridge burst violently through the wooden kitchen doors, flooding the grand hallways and rushing furiously into the opulent dining room. Panic set in completely as the rich brother waded through waist-deep soup, struggling frantically toward the front entrance of his flooded home. The scalding food chased him right out into the dark, cobbled street, pouring steadily from the tall windows of his mansion in a bizarre, bubbling waterfall. Silas ran wildly toward Elias's estate, splashing heavily through the sticky torrent while begging his brother for immediate rescue. Elias laughed heartily at the ridiculous sight of his cruel brother covered in porridge, before calmly demanding double the original price to step in and stop the disaster. The desperate man eagerly agreed to pay the massive penalty fee, allowing Elias to calmly speak the stopping words and end the savory flood. The once wealthy brother returned miserably to a completely ruined home, while Elias became the most prosperous and respected man in the entire valley. Years passed quietly until a rugged sea captain arrived at the grand estate, actively seeking the legendary grinding stone. The ambitious captain traded rare spices from across the globe, yet his true fortune relied heavily on selling precious, pure salt. He firmly believed the mill could save him countless dangerous voyages by filling his cargo hold directly on the open ocean. Elias had grown quite tired of guarding the magical object, so he gladly sold it to the ambitious sailor for a tremendous amount of shiny gold. The suspense is at its peak. Before we discover the eager captain's fate, join our community so you won't miss what comes next. The proud skipper carried the heavy stone aboard his massive sailing vessel and immediately ordered his seasoned crew to cast off. They sailed far out into the deep, turbulent ocean before the captain finally decided to test his newly purchased prize. He set the mill securely upon the main deck, commanding it loudly to grind the purest, finest white salt in the known world. The ancient stone rumbled with immense, vibrating power, churning out sparkling white mountains that quickly covered the wooden planks. The joyful sailors cheered loudly at the sight, envisioning the boundless wealth and luxury that eagerly awaited them back at their home port. However, the foolish captain soon realized he had made a terrible, fatal error. He had been so eager to leave the safe harbor.
Stop it!
The
Stop.
proud man never
I beg
bothered
you.
to learn the secret
Please.
stopping words. The mountain of salt grew uncontrollably. It crushed the lower decks. Heavy white crystals spilled over the sturdy wooden rails. The frantic crew attacked the grinding stone with heavy iron axes, yet their weapons simply bounced off the indestructible magic surface. Salt completely buried the majestic ship, dragging the heavy wooden vessel down into the dark, crushing depths of the freezing sea. The unforgiving ocean swallowed the captain and his greedy ambitions without leaving a single trace behind. Even now, the magical mill sits entirely alone at the very bottom of the dark ocean, spinning endlessly in the silent depths. It continues to grind salt day and night, for there is absolutely no one left to speak the stopping words. This is exactly why the vast waters of our world remain forever salty. Unchecked greed will always consume those who try to claim more than they could ever truly need. We must learn to be deeply grateful for our simple blessings before our endless desires sink us completely.